if your iPad's at work.
Alright, I think we're live.
Yep. Since there's two concurrently used.
Go ahead.
Hey guys! It's Sam with The Blind Life. Well, actually, this is Skylar at The Blind Life. But we are here doing a little live stream today with Life After Sight Loss with Derek Daniel. So it's going to be a really fun little experience, a fun little show. Sit down. It's going to go good.
Yes. Alright, thank you. That was our intro. Okay, hang on a second. We're going to bring Derek in here. And this is always the weird part at the beginning that never goes right. So, Derek is here. Derek, hello.
Hello, I'm here.
Yay. Welcome, Derek. Let me get this all set up. Sorry, guys. So, see if you can actually see Derek. Not yet. Okay. Let me... And then we also have Rachel here as well.
Hello.
Yes, Rachel's going to answer some questions for us.
I'm not going to answer questions. I'm going to relay questions.
Re-questions, yes, sorry. Okay, we're almost there. Getting everything set up. Thank you guys very much for joining us today.
Derek still isn't on the screen yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it set up.
I know, gosh darn it. Put me on the screen.
Derek, so while we're doing this, is there anything you wanna say hi to everybody? Anything you wanna
Sure.
do a little intro?
Well, yeah, I'll do a little thing. My name is Derek, of course. I'm glad I'm here. I woke up about 5 minutes before this. No, it wasn't long before. I woke up this morning with like this headache and nausea, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. So I was like, usually my wife and I, because she went to work today, we'll get up and do a workout together. And I said, I'm not doing that. So, so I decided I'll sleep in later. So it was good. So everything's good now. I got my coffee here ready to go so I can stay awake. And not that I need it to stay awake, of course, with Sam. But anyway, no, it's going to be a good time. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you very much.
I still can't see Derek.
I'm working on it. I may have to completely get rid of his and add it back in. Sorry. This is so little backstory here while we're doing this. YouTube got rid of their very easy to use streaming collaboration software, and now we have to find these weird workarounds to get it to work. And obviously, there's some issues. So. If you guys saw my live stream with Matt and Corey from Blind to Billionaire, we had some issues that day as well. So, apologize about that. I'm going to get Derek back in here. Okay. Derek is back and he is big old full screen. So let me... He is more Derek than we want, so...
There's too much to handle.
Yes. So let's get Derek small again. And of course this is not an easy task with low vision.
You need help?
Yeah, actually, if you wouldn't mind.
They need to make live streaming a little more blind friendly.
Yeah. Okay.
It is not.
So you need to grab onto that red point and drag to the right to make it smaller. And they don't give you any kind of indication that you're on the red point. You just kind of grab it.
Ah, crap. Is that what I needed to do?
Click on OBS there. So we need to leave that window open for Derek, and then... Oh, yeah. it should be a red highlight whenever you're on it.
No, it's a red highlight all the time.
Okay.
I don't know how you know when you're on it.
It's just
Now
trying to
the slider is the
I'm pointing right on it.
layout
It's
or
not
whatever
letting
this
me do
is.
it.
The thing is up, but the window's behind it.
yeah.
This is like a
It's overlaying that screen.
master class.
Because I need to make it smaller so it fits in here. Okay, so hello guys. While we're doing this, so today our live stream today was just kind of a spontaneous thing. In fact, I think it was just like 2 days ago. I contacted Derek and was like, "Hey, you want to do a live stream?" And just to chit chat and talk about some quarantine life, because Derek, we haven't seen Derek in a while. He hasn't put out too many videos lately, so I thought this might be a good opportunity. I thought he might like to do that as well. And this kind of ties in with Derek's podcast. He just put out the other day that with he and his wife about quarantine life. Make it about the size of mine, and then I'll crop it, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I did just, if for those of you who are listening, watching live, my wife and I put out a brand new podcast episode for the first time in forever, to quote Anna from Frozen. It's been a few months, but my wife and I decided, okay, we're going to do it. So we batched a couple episodes. The first one came out yesterday, is episode 90, and it is about life in quarantine for she and I. So you can check that out. It is on YouTube, as well as Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, places like that. So that's exciting. We had fun doing it. We talked too long, and my camera shut off, so we had to go back and redo a couple things. But that's what happens when you haven't done it for a while.
Yeah, you're a little rusty. Well, and these cameras these days don't have long enough batteries, nearly long enough.
Well, and the DSLR only records up to 29 minutes.
Oh yeah.
And so it was still, that was the thing, it was still on, but we're sitting there talking, and she goes, the screen says that it stopped recording. I was like, why are you whispering? If it stops recording, nobody's going to hear this anyway. But
all right. Thank you, honey. Rachel got it for us, and I'm actually going to put Derek underneath mine. So now we're back to normal. All right, good. So you see a little bit of my computer above Derek, but that's okay. There we go. Okay, now we should be good. So in about 30 seconds, Rachel, if you wouldn't mind, let me know if everything's good. Derek, and are you moving around, Derek? Or are you oh, I see you blinking. Okay, we're good. Okay, so now we should be good. Sorry about that, guys. The best laid plans, right?
It's the joy of the internet.
I mean, we were here 15 minutes before our 10:30, and trying to get it set up, and it's still not enough time. So yes, okay. So Derek, I just want to touch on some of the things you guys talked about on your podcast, and
sure.
What have you? And this is kind of ties in with another YouTuber's video that they did recently about life in quarantine, life before and life after quarantine. And one thing to touch on is, as your wife April was saying, it's not quarantine, right? Unless you're sick. So it's life in isolation.
That is right.
Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't mention that to me. I sent her the notes and everything. It was like, we're going to talk about this. And in the middle of the thing, she's like, by the way, this is not right. It's like, oh, thanks a lot.
Because she works in the medical field. So she's a stickler for those kind of details, right?
Yeah. Get the right words. That's right.
Yeah. Which is true. That's a good point. So life in isolation, how, for you guys and your family, how different is it before now as it was before?
For me, it's not a huge difference. Now, I did just start a job back in January, as many people know. So that was a little different. We got a couple of months at the job, and all of a sudden it's like, go home, But for me, I'm used to being home a lot because that's what happens when you can't see. You don't drive, so you don't go many places a lot of times.
Right.
Unless you have a job or some consistent thing that you go to, whether it's a job or volunteer work or something like that. So it's very normal. But my kids, and of course my wife's still going to work, but my kids, they're the ones who have changed the most with online learning and just being home constantly, not being able to go to their friend's house who live down the street, things like that.
Yeah.
It's been a huge shift for them, and I think that's been the most challenging piece of it, is kind of our routine, keeping up the routine, and that sort of thing with the kids.
Yeah, we're kind of in a similar situation. Rachel works in the medical field also, so she's still considered an essential employee or essential worker, but her hours have been cut in half, so she's part-time now. But she still has to go every day, and or at least 4 times a day or 4 times a week. But the real effect is with the kids, like you said, or with Skylar. She's home all day and she's not used to not being around her friends and being in constant contact, which luckily they have the internet and all that now, and so they can stay in pretty good contact with each other, but it's still difficult. Hang on a second, I'm going to turn Rachel's volume down a little bit because she's picking up some of my echo back there.
Sorry, I turned it down as much as I can.
No, it's not your. You can only do so much with that thing, so I'm going to turn yours down here. Okay. And one thing that I, or something's been going over Facebook a lot, is talking about Generation X. So I'm a member of Generation X. Derek, I don't know if you are.
It depends on which website you're reading.
Yeah.
So I've been considered Generation X. Some consider me a millennial. I was born in '83. Which I do not consider myself a millennial at all, but I do think I'm not as old as Sam, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm Generation X.
Yeah, I think I've heard mid '80s is kind of the Generation X cutoff, early to mid '80s. So you probably you maybe have squeezed in there.
Yeah.
But they talk about Generation X. We're great in this kind of situation because we grew up as latchkey kids coming home, no parents, and pretty much just staying at home, taking care of ourselves. So it's like, we got this. This is no problem at all.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my daughter, who's 10, she was asking about, we were talking about something the other day about being kids, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'd come home, and she's like, well, where was Mama and Papa? I'm like, they were at work. It's like, well, who was home when you got home? Nobody. Like, you just came home, made your snack, whatever, didn't do your homework because that's not what you were going to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when I'd watch Power Rangers and, wait till my mom got home to put a casserole in the oven. So
right. Or a TV dinner, a Hungry Man TV dinner.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so that's why I think the kids are having such a hard time with it, with this more than us. Skylar definitely is. I mean, she's had a couple breakdowns, and because she misses her friends and misses that face-to-face contact with her friends. And we've tried. We let her go to a park with a friend, but they had to, of course, stay apart. And they did a pretty good job, I guess. Maybe not as good as they could have. So we had the other day, one of her friends came over and they stayed in the backyard. Separated, and they both wore masks just to kind of extra precaution, but just so she could have a little bit of close contact, one-on-one time with her friends.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, my son, who's an introvert, he's like fine. He's like, well, whatever. He's throwing all his energy into like cooking. He's making bread and cakes and grilling. He's doing all that. And then my daughter, she'll have panic attacks. It feels like where you can tell she's losing it, and it's like, okay. It's clearly not about the thing we're talking about right now, but
right.
But yeah, the internet's great, and she's been able to FaceTime people and things like that, but it's not quite the same as having that one-on-one connection.
Yeah. Well, and that brings up another thing. So we here in our family have just been going crazy on the eating, like everybody's on vacation, and I know that's true for a lot of people. I've heard a lot of people on the internet talk about that, and one of the things is breads. I've baked more bread, and during this quarantine than ever before. I made actual sandwich bread. We made English muffins. I made English muffins the other day. I've made sticky buns twice. It's like, we're just going crazy. And at some point, we have to kind of rein it back in and be like, we are going to be seeing other people at some point, and they're going to be judging how you look.
Yeah, I don't know
They're
when
going to
that
be
point.
expecting us to wear pants, and we need to be able to fit into
Yeah,
them.
exactly.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I don't know when that point is, but you're right. We're going to have to rein it in at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, my son. My son's real interested in cooking in general. I mean, baking,
That's
grilling,
great, yeah.
everything. And so they took a cooking class. We got him for Christmas, and he bought this book, this real thick book that is like a bunch of recipes for all kinds of breads, and cakes, and stuff like that. And so he made ciabatta bread and sourdough and like some at least random Italian breads I've never heard of. And he made homemade from scratch cinnamon rolls for my wife, who loves them. Oh, they were so good.
And that's
I don't even like cinnamon rolls.
Those are labor intensive. They take a while.
Oh, he stayed up all night. He was up until 5 o'clock in the morning because he didn't want her to see him make, because it was a surprise.
Oh, surprise!
And so he's like, I'm gonna start, whatever. I was like, okay. So she went to bed, and he's like, here we go.
Yeah, because you have to let it rise, let him rise, and then twice you have to let him rise.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the big joke around here. He's making something. I'm like, well, when can we eat this? In a week and a half?
For real.
This is never gonna be ready.
Yeah, I know. So did you guys have yeast? That's been a thing too. Is there's a yeast shortage.
That has been the challenge.
Yeah.
Yes. My I think she finally got some, but it was a challenge. He's looking for bread flour. Now we have some random different flour, but we can't find any bread flour.
Right.
Just apparently it doesn't exist anymore. So, but yeah, he's been using all kinds of stuff. He's like, well, let's throw this in there, and he made a cake the other day. Excuse me. Made a cake that was think about a pecan pie flavor, in a cake form. And it was like that, had pecans and stuff in it. It was so good, so moist. I was like, where'd you get this? He's like, oh, I saw it on here, so I decided to make it. I was like, all right.
That's
it was
awesome.
Good. I ate too much of it.
Yeah, I would love that too.
Quarantine 15.
Yeah. I from my brewing adventures last year, I was sitting on this stack of yeast. I had 15 packets. And so when I would make stuff and put it on Facebook, people were like, where'd you get the yeast from? And so I felt like I'm like the yeast king. I'm like, it's a form of currency now, and I'm doling it out.
You're probably wanted by somebody.
Yeah, probably.
Wanted by the FBI for all the yeast.
Okay, so getting to some of the comments on here, Carol pointed out that nice matching red T-shirts.
Oh,
You
yeah.
guys are twins today.
That was unpredicted.
No, we totally planned it.
We did.
And also, lots of people just greeting, saying hello. Sam, I did want to say that Kaya Burkhead did comment that she learned a lot from you when she first became blind, which is awesome.
That's great.
Not awesome that she became blind, but
Yeah.
awesome that she was able to learn a lot from you.
I think it's awesome. She's joined a very exclusive, awesome community.
That is right.
Yeah.
JC5 Productions said he's glad he's making breakfast because you guys talking about food's making him hungry.
Good old Juan. That's right.
Juan just put out a video yesterday. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. JC5
I have
Productions.
not.
It's pretty good. I was impressed.
That's it.
Divided by Sight said that she loves baking, but she needs to work on decorating, though, which I don't know if she means decorating cakes and stuff, but I don't know if you're aware, but Sam used to teach cake decorating when Skylar was a little bitty one.
Yep, I was
kinda funny.
official Wilton cake decorating instructor.
I don't know if it's my blindness or if it's me. I could care less what it looks like. I'm like, just give me the thing, let me eat it. I don't care what it looks like. I'm like, oh, just put it in my mouth. I don't care.
If somebody else made it, yeah, I'm the same way. But if I made it, I'm like, it has to be perfect.
Well, that's true. Yeah, if it comes out for me, then I gotta, it's a presentation. Otherwise,
Right.
I'm just like, put it on the plate.
So everyone that's watching, I'm checking the comments. So if you have any questions or comments that you want the guys to know about, just put them in there, and I will relay that information.
Yes, and in one of our last
Helpful-sided supporter.
Yes, one of our last live streams, somebody recommended that we get a microphone for Rachel, so that's what we've done. And you guys let us know if you can hear everything. I think Rachel's monitoring it, so if everybody's audio is coming in well and all that. And despite the issue this earlier, I do like it to be as professional as possible.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So, how about school? Your kids doing that non-traditional learning.
Yes, yes, they are doing online learning,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I don't know. I feel like our school system was totally unprepared for something like this, which I feel like most of people were.
I think
But
our
it
whole
was
country
like,
was.
oh, I
Yeah.
know. It's like, oh, here, do this busy work. Different teachers. So my daughter's in elementary school. My son's in middle school. So it's been obviously, one teacher versus multiple teachers,
Mm-hmm.
and then the my elementary school um, child has a teacher who's got other things going on in her life, so she's been in and out and things like that. But they tried to have a Google Meet because they do learning Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. So they
Mm-hmm.
try to have a Google Meet every time they do something on that day. And then my son's school has been like, it's like the teacher's like, here, just like throwing crap at the kids. Like, what his math teacher sends out a problem every day, and he's in algebra, and the problems are like, what is the area of your bedroom? I'm like, what is this? Is this really like? And one of them was like, I have so many boards and they're this long, and how many even boards can I get? Whatever. I'm like, I feel like he's doing a project at home, and he's just having you do some of the math that he's having to do.
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm
So
stumped on this one here. Let's figure it out real quick.
yeah, let's figure it out together. But for the most part, they're trying hard. They're doing their best. It's
Yeah.
just, I think if they don't go back, because we got a survey from the school the other day about what has worked, what hasn't worked, and they're like, just in case, we need to do a better job of this. So I
Mm.
don't fault them. I'm not like mad at them. They're doing their best in the
Oh, yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
It's just been a challenge. So
Yeah.
what about Skylar's?
Derek,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I was just wondering if you've noticed, especially with the middle schooler, because Skylar's in high school, so she also has multiple teachers,
Hmm.
and it is an incredibly different experience for every teacher.
Yes.
Like, I feel like
Yes.
some of them have completely checked out, and some of them are like sending out stuff, almost daily, even though her school is A day, B day, so she doesn't even have the same teachers every day when she's in school.
Sure.
But
Yes.
it's just very different. And I think part of it is the teachers that have really young kids are just struggling. And I don't know
Yes.
how you're supposed to be able to do online teaching from home when you have a 1 or 2 year old at your
Yeah.
feet. So I
Yeah.
think that's part of the problem. But
I agree. So that, to your point, it's true. Every teacher it seems like a vastly different thing for every teacher. And that's one of the problems I find is there's no consistency. So my son is not like the best student, not because he's not smart. It's because he's like, whatever, I don't care. And so,
because he's a boy.
it's like, whatever. So I was the same way. So, when it's not like he's trying to like, where is the knowledge? He's just like, well, they didn't tell me what to do, so I don't care. And so like his math teacher has completely checked out, like you said. He's like, whatever. And then he'll have a couple teachers that are really trying hard. He's got one teacher that has young kids, as you mentioned, just had twins, I think, as a matter of fact, recently.
Ah.
And so he was
Wow.
like, he emails him. He's like, well, I will try to make time for that, when I have time away from my family or something like that. And I was like, I'm real sarcastic, so I was like, why don't you email him back, be like, please, thank you for all your help. If you could take 5 seconds away from your family, like, or it's like, I don't care about your problems right now. I'm whatever. But it is vastly different. That is the nice thing about having an elementary age student where one teacher's handling it all. And so, you get the same stuff each and every day. And if she was in middle school, it'd probably be different because she would seek out the knowledge. She'd be like, oh, I got to make sure this is great. Where he's just like, meh, good luck,
yeah, well, Skylar's school sent out something about a week and a half ago clarifying how they were handling grading for during this NTI time. They call it NTI here, non-traditional instruction.
Oh, gotcha.
But they basically said that any work that's done during this can only help your grade, but none of it will hurt your grade.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
at that point, I think half the kids just checked out, like, not doing it. Skylar's not like that, so she has still continued to do all of her work. And they did say, like, if you did nothing at all, they won't fail anyone, but they will give you an incomplete and make you, do additional work in order to pass the class. But yeah, like Skylar's, she had to take an AP government test from home
Oh wow.
online. Her AP exam, like not
Yeah.
for school, but the actual AP exam was done from home, which was really weird. But her AP Gov teacher has assigned this big paper, and he said it'll only it'll only help your grade. It can't hurt your grade. So I'm like, you need to just do the math and find out, is it going to bring you up a letter grade? Because if not, why do this last paper of the year? You've already taken the AP exam. What's the point?
That is the encouragement from the parents, everybody.
Parenting 101. Right?
No, that's the thing. Anytime my kids see the word optional, they're like, that means not do it. Like, so, but I don't know if it's going to hurt. They haven't said that because some of the grades have come in. Some of the teachers aren't putting grades in until like now. And it's just like, we've had 8 weeks of this and we have no grades all of a sudden. And so it's like, I'm not sure what to do. But that would be nice
Yeah.
because my son would really benefit from that, not hurting his grade.
Yeah. Yeah. So, trying to look at, someone asked, do you think public transportation is important for independence?
Oh,
I
absolutely.
know we're jumping topics, but I'm reading it.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
That's actually been a big hindrance because I take an Uber or Lyft or whatever a lot. Not a lot, that's not true. Very regularly, let's say. Regularly, because when I go to my job, it's not too far away, so I'll take an Uber. And I am not getting in an Uber right now for sure. And so
Right.
I either don't go in, which I can work from home for the most part, but I either don't go in or I can only go in. My wife is there. I have to work out rides. And so the lack of, now I don't know if Uber counts as public transportation, with a
Right.
bus and stuff like that, but those kinds of things, if they're shut down or if they're limited, yeah, I think that makes a huge hindrance on independence.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I can't remember who it was I saw mention something on Facebook, someone in the low vision community. One thing she was talking about that has been difficult during this time is, the rules are changing all the time. And when you go out to, say, a grocery store, for instance, they, have what their policies are on a sign. Well, she
Yeah.
can't read that sign.
Yeah.
And so that's really, that's a challenge. And I hadn't thought about that because Sam basically hasn't left the house for weeks, but
Yeah, me too.
so it
Yeah.
hasn't been an issue for us. I mean, literally, we really have been taking it seriously. So I pick up the groceries. I don't even go into the store or anything. So we just haven't really experienced that much. But not everyone can go and do the pickup and stuff. So that would be really a challenge that I just hadn't even thought about.
Yeah, my wife has been doing all of that. She'll go, she has her mask in the car and she'll go to the grocery store and she tries to go at either like early hours where there's not a lot of people and things like that. But I mean, she's going to work and she's a nurse, so it's kind of like, well, you're probably going to catch it there before whatever. So it's just been a challenge for all of us. But yeah, I haven't left the house. We go on like a drive or something, or we'll go to a park that nobody's at or something like that. But yeah, for the most part, we're just at home all the time, like you said.
Yeah, I think most people are. Rachel has even said that this morning. She's like, I'm a little concerned that you haven't left the house at all. Don't you want to get out? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm fine.
We're learning a lot about Sam's personality type.
I've got everything I need right here.
It is kind of funny because it's not like he's a super big introvert. He does like interacting with people, but it is odd because like I might just be running out to go pick something up. Like we're not even gonna get out of the car, but Skylar will jump at the chance to go with me just to get out of the house. And Sam's like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, that's the same way my son and daughter are. My daughter's like, can I ride with you? And my wife's like, you can't go in the store. She's like, that's fine, I don't care.
Yeah.
But my son's like, nah, I'm good.
Well, I've
Stay
gone
home.
on Mondays though. I'm working while you're here, and so I can't go with you then. But on the weekends, I've gone like to pick up food or pick up groceries.
Yeah, but not often. Like compared to Skylar, like anytime I offer, I would say you're maybe a 20%er, whereas Skylar's more of a 80 to 90%er.
Yeah.
Wow, you're not a 1%er, Sam. You're a 20%.
I'm a 20%er. that evil son. But getting back on the topic we were supposed to be talking about. Yeah, when I was
forgot now. What was it?
It was about transportation, public transportation. When I
Oh, right.
when I was doing AT training, I would meet a lot of people who lived in rural areas. I'm in Kentucky, and they lived in rural areas of Kentucky. Rural. You got to say it like a Kentuckian.
Yeah, rural.
And they were just stuck they don't. There's no public transportation, so they're just stuck at home unless somebody can give them a ride. And that you mentioned Uber and Lyft. That's how I would go to the chiropractor and go run errands and stuff before all this happened was Lyft, because I don't live close to a bus stop. But if I did, I would definitely take advantage of that as well. So I think it's very important for independence.
Oh, vastly, yes. It's hard. Transportation, I find, is always the challenge when it comes to things. Like, I want to do this thing. I want to have this job. And it always comes back to even people at my job that I got now who are kind and great. It's a church, so they sort of have to be. But, who've been fantastic. One of their first questions is, how are you going to get here? And for me, it's like, well, I'll just get here. There's no... that's always their concern, which for me, I guess it is a thought, but it's always a question. Like, how are you going to arrive? How are you going to get to events or whatever? It's like, well, we'll just make it work. And now, they're all, most of the people that I work with, which is not a big church, but most of the people are like, hey, you need a ride? Can I come pick you up? Whatever. And I don't live that far from the church, but it's always a challenge for sure.
Yeah, that's something I would also touch on, is that everybody always... I hear that all the time. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be a hindrance on my family and friends and stuff. And I say, you're not. You're definitely not. People. We as humans, most of us anyways, we like helping other humans, and so we find joy in that. We find reward in that. So, of course, if you're just bugging somebody nonstop, or a sibling, of course, a sibling's not going to want to do it for you. But
sure, no, definitely not.
But yeah, people are always happy to help.
Well, there's a couple things I always say about that when people say that to me is, number one, somebody told me once that you're robbing people the opportunity to be a blessing. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. You want them to be able to be a blessing. And two, I always appreciate when people tell me no, because then I know that their yes is true. When they tell me no, I can't pick you up today, or I can't watch your kids, or I can't whatever. Then when they say, yes, I can do that, then I know they're not just saying yes out of obligation or whatever. It's like, oh, they're really able to do this.
Yeah,
so
that's a good point.
I always think about that. It's like, I'm like, no, just tell me no, it's fine. And then the next time, and I have this one couple, they're an older couple, and they're great. And they always say, well, we can, if we can, we will. And I know they mean that because they've told me they can't sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's great. So.
And then you give them a hard time saying, how dare you?
Yeah.
I'm blind.
I give crap 'cause I'm like, I'm blind. I'm handicapped, gosh darn it.
Rach, we got any other questions or anything?
How Casey sees it logged in said, hey guys, two of my favorite people.
Well, hello, Casey.
Casey has started putting out videos again. Great videos. Happy to see her back on YouTube.
I did a recent video where she talked about blinders. I want to go back and start watching This Is Us because she mentioned a blind character, and we started watching This Is Us, I don't know, whenever it was, and we for some reason just trailed off. But I want to go back and give it a shot.
You got sick of ugly crying every episode.
Oh my gosh, all the time. My wife cries like she's been stabbed. Yeah. Do you remember that movie Marley and Me?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was a wreck. We didn't even have a dog at the time, but yeah, Casey mentioned that. So she said it has audio description, so I definitely want to find that and give that a shot.
Yeah, I meant to ask Rachel. I meant to ask you. Did you ever finish watching? Or are you up to date with This Is Us?
No, I'm like many seasons behind. It's emotionally draining.
It is. Yes, we were like, oh, every episode, I can't do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm afraid our family has been watching. Sorry, this is a little bit of a getting off topic, but our family's been watching Supernatural like from the very beginning. Like we started at the beginning, and now we're in season 3. And I'm probably gonna have to tap out soon because that's emotionally draining for me. It scares the crap out of me every episode, and I'm like a tense little, like every muscle is all tensed up the whole episode, and it's becoming a little too much for me.
Yeah, sometimes I just need a show that is funny and I don't have to think about. So one of my favorite shows is Frasier, and I have watched every episode of Frasier like 12 times probably, and I'll just put it on. Like my routine is to eat lunch and watch an episode of Frasier, my kids will sing the theme song now. Like it's a thing in my house.
That's funny.
But I just need something funny. I don't have to because some of these shows are emotionally draining. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't do this every week. I can't. I got I gotta go.
See, now we're learning about Derek. So Frasier is his escape.
Oh my gosh, I love Frasier.
Frasier Cranes.
Anytime my son and I will mess around, and he'll say I'm like, well, I'll make fun of him, and he's like, yeah, well, Frasier Crane's not real. I'm like, how dare you? He is real.
You take that back. Oh, it's funny. Yeah, we
Okay. Sorry, I was going to talk about some comments on here.
Okay.
Blind Toes mentioned that he's trying not to work. Actually, I don't know if Blind Toes is a girl or a boy, so I'm sorry. I'm going with
toes like on your feet.
Yeah, Blind Toes is awesome.
Yes.
They give me
Blind
comments,
Toes.
and they always rate my videos 2 toes up or 3 toes up. And I'm a little sad when they don't give me a 2 toes up or.
I know, right? That's funny.
But he said it's trying not to order too much DoorDash, which I can imagine.
I Uber Eats the day. We got McDonald's. It's very close. If I could drive, it would be super easy,
Yeah.
But I got Uber Eats, and it was just for me and my 2 kids. It was over $30 for Uber Eats, and I was like,
ridiculous.
we can't do this. We can't do this every week. But it was very good. It turned out good.
Yeah. Someone else, Game Daughter 1 said that when she gets a ride from someone, she always offers gas money to anyone who offers her a ride, which that's nice thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can be just as kind back, and sometimes they'll say, no, don't worry, you're close. Or might say, like, no, don't worry. If you're, like, hey, can I offer you gas money? Can I be helpful? And if you have a guide dog, like, just as a side note, if you have a guide dog and they're willing to take your dog, make sure your dog is clean and brushed, and, that sort of thing, because if they're being kind, you want to make sure your mangy dog isn't jumping up in their car. So just as a free piece of advice.
There's someone on here, I don't know if it's Allie or Ollie, but he said, I have Stargardt's for many years now. My question is, I heard that Elon Musk is working on a chip that can help people with brain problems. How true is that? I don't know. Have you heard about this? I haven't heard anything about this, but I don't know if you guys have.
No, there was the I'm trying to remember the name. There was a chip that they could put in, and a camera that they would insert into the eye. The chip was in the back of the head, and the camera would connect to the chip, and it was giving totally blind people some semblance of vision back. It was a very digital, just shapes kind of vision. I can't remember. It'll come to me here in a second. But I think they've kind of stopped. Like, that whole thing has kind of gone under. And then there's also a company, Mojo Vision, in California, that's working on a contact lens that's going to have a heads-up display in it. So you'll be able to see this floating. I don't know. It's supposed to be like the world's smallest display in a contact lens, and it's supposed to be like the wearable devices we have now, but in a contact lens. So they have a prototype that is huge. I would not want to put it into my eye. So I'm sure that's still several years away. I'm trying to get a hold of them to do like a video about it, but I haven't heard about a chip, especially from Elon Musk. He's pretty upset because they won't let him make his cars in California right now. He's like, we're moving to Texas.
Suing people left and right. I'm sure Texas probably is like, whoa, what the heck?
Yeah, don't bring us into this.
No, geez. Well, I remember when I first lost my sight back in '01, there was somebody sent me a magazine, and there was this thing where they were talking about plugging in. So you'd have a hole in the back of your head, and you would plug a cable in, and it would touch the optic sensor in your brain, and then that cable would run outside of your head to a pair of glasses, and then the glasses would then become, like, it would bypass your optic nerve and then become your vision. And the idea was, you would go from low vision to like bionic vision.
Super vision,
you could have night vision, and you could have all that sort of thing. But that was, of course, like Star Wars and Star Trek kind of stuff back then.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, this is the future. And I do
That sounds
think
like an
something.
infection waiting to happen.
It's just totally, yeah,
Sounds
just
like
a
the
hole in your
Matrix
brain. I know, sort of like,
because they got
but I
plugged in.
think I think something like that will probably happen, in some odd time. I don't know if it'll be in our lifetime or not, but something like you talked about, a contact lens, a chip, something to
Yeah.
give you bionic vision. And I don't know how I necessarily feel about it because it's almost like, well, you're broken, so let us fix you with, these sort of things. And I understand, and that's a whole debate you can get into. We don't have to
Right.
today, but it's like, let's make the perfect superhuman and, eliminate all of these issues. And it's like, I don't know. That sounds like some. Every Marvel movie starts with somebody having bad stuff happen in the lab. So, that's not. I'm
Well,
not
that's what I
sure
was going to
that's a
say.
good thing.
That's how many sci-fi movies started like that. And, the future society where they gene manipulate your genes so your babies come out perfect. And what color eyes would you like your child to have? That kind of thing.
Yeah, check this box.
Yeah. Argus.
It's not a huge leap from cochlear implants though.
Yeah. Yeah.
For people
I
with
mean,
hearing impairments.
that's fair. Yeah.
Which
Well,
there is, within the deaf community, there's people that argue on both sides of that. Like you were saying, if I'm not broken, I don't need to be fixed. There's people that would not get a cochlear implant, and then others that can't wait to get a cochlear implant. So
and let me make a point. If there was something that I don't, first of all, I don't want to be the guinea pig for these things. Like, oh, let me stab a hole in your head. Like, no.
Yeah.
But
We're pretty
if
sure
there
it's
was
gonna work.
something that could, yeah, yeah, if there was something that would cure my sight, I probably would do it. Now, does that mean I think I'm broken? Does that mean I think there's something wrong with me and I can't live? No, not at all. I'm living a very full life. I enjoy my life and all that sort of thing. But I personally would choose to do that. Now again, I want to make sure people understand. I don't think that means there's something wrong with me or you, Sam, or anybody else. It's just a personal preference that I think people have to make.
yeah, well, and the thing is you're living your life now. There's people that unfortunately they get so stuck in that I feel like they're waiting to live until there's a cure for their vision
Yes. Yes.
impairment,
Hmm.
and that's where there's a difference is being happy and content with who you are now and living your life to the fullest now. And if in the future something came along that could fix your vision, fantastic. That's great. That
Hmm.
that I will totally jump on that. But I'm not counting on that to fulfill my life and to make me happy.
I remember one of the first negative comments I ever got on a video was about, and it was a long comment too. I was like, "Oh, you took some time on this one, did you?" But it was. I did a video because somebody sent me these videos from the Rachel Ray show, and they were
Oh, yeah.
demonstrating eSight.
Oh, yeah.
And
We all know those
which is
videos.
is a whole another thing on that. But anyway, they were like, "Oh, look at this! It gives them their sight back," and I was like, "No, it doesn't." But the point I made in the video was exactly what you said. We don't want to get so focused on the cure that we miss out on the life we could live right now. Nothing wrong with being like, "Oh, that would be cool. I would love for something like that, but I'm not going to miss out." And the guy commented, "Was like, I need to." He said, "I'll never forget." One of his things was, "I need to get off my high horse."
I remember that. I remember you telling me about that.
I know. And so he said he and his wife was visually impaired, and they have lived a very full life, but they also are, looking for a cure and things like that. I'm like, well, you proved my point. Like, that's what you should be doing. You should live a full life, and then maybe something comes along, and that's great. But I don't want to miss out on waiting to live until, something better comes along.
Yeah, yeah. I will say I'm down for some bionic vision, some supervision. If I can
Heck
get
yeah, man.
infrared night vision, yeah, sign me up.
Call me, call me Captain America. That's
I actually had a back when I was younger and I was creating comic book characters and doing all the drawing comic book characters. I had a character I created. His name was Scope, and he had this like cybernetic, half his face was cybernetic with his eye piece, and so he could do telescope, he could do a microscope, he could do a stethoscope, so he could hear super well.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah, his name was Scope. It's trademark. Don't anybody
That's
steal
cool.
my ideas.
it's true. That's funny.
Real quick before we get into another topic, you had mentioned guide dogs and the Uber. Did you see? I just saw an article. I haven't read it yet, but it popped up, I believe, on Facebook, and it said that there's a guy who's suing Uber because he was denied like 15 rides because of his guide dog. And you
I
being a
haven't
guide
seen
dog
that one.
owner, I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I haven't seen that one, but I belong to a group on Facebook called Blind Users of Uber and Lyft, I think.
Hmm.
And of course, most of this stuff is like, I got rejected today and things like that. So I personally have not experienced that. Um, I have never had anybody refuse me. I've never had anybody say, I'm sorry, I can't take your dog or whatever. In fact, I've had, if anything, the opposite, where people are like, oh, go look at your pup. It's great. And I don't know if
Yeah.
it's because I live in the Midwest or, people are just whatever. I don't know how to say this delicately, so I'll just do my best. It's most of the time people that don't speak our language or haven't been here that long and things like that. That has been the people that I found run into the most. Um, and again, I'm not bashing anybody or anything like that. There's just this disconnect. I remember once I rode with somebody who didn't speak the language very well, and he said something, and he took the dog fine. There was no issues, but I said, "Oh yeah, this is my guide dog," and he was like, "Guide dog?" I was like, "Yeah, my service dog," and he was like,
Oh,
he
yeah.
didn't know what that was.
That'd be difficult.
And yeah, and so, but he still took my dog, luckily, there's no issue. But it's such a fine line because people are going to say, well, I'm allergic. And if they're genuinely allergic, I would not want to put my dog in their car. I mean, that would stink. But at the same time, there's this thin line of like, are they public transportation? Yes. So they should be taking us and all this other sort of thing. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, some people get outraged and they're like fired up about it. I have had one that I say I've never gotten rejected. Nobody's ever pulled up and pulled away, but I have had people not show up and cancel the ride. And I don't know if that's because of my dog. I don't know. But I would rather, I tell people up front, I book the ride and I say, I have my guide dog with me with a smiley face or whatever. And
Little guide
because
dog
I'd rather
emoji.
them say, yeah, little guide dog emoji. I'd rather them say no way up front
Yeah.
and get another ride than wait 10 minutes, have them show up and be like, nope. And
Right.
then I'm mad at that, and I'm mad because I got to wait another 10 minutes or whatever. So it's to each their own. But yeah, it. I think for the most part, I've seen it in bigger cities and on more. Now that doesn't mean it's only in bigger cities. It
Yeah.
happens everywhere, but especially on the coasts and places like that. Um, but so far, I've had a good experience with Ubers. I've had no issues. My dog hops in the floorboard, and they're always like, "Oh, look at your dog! Wow, he's way better behaved than my dog." Or it's a conversation starter for him for the most part.
Yeah. So it costs a lot of money to get him this well behaved.
I know. I had to beat him senseless just so. No, you don't make jokes about it because then people will take you seriously.
Yeah.
I talked to this one guy. He said he beat his dog. That's like, oh no. Don't make
Blind people are the worst.
Okay, I got several comments here if you guys are ready.
We're
Okay.
ready.
Sorry, I just lost it. Okay, and I'm not sure if either of you will have information on this. Sam, I don't think you'll know anything about it, but Derek, I don't know if you will. But
I
this
will make
person
it up
says
if
that
I
they have.
don't.
I have this is P Duffy, 83 USA. I have retinopathy of prematurity and was diagnosed with glaucoma 2.5 months ago. I had surgery, but I still have blurry vision. I read that it can take up to 6 months to clear. Any thoughts? So I don't think Sam really knows anything about this, but I thought even if neither of you do, maybe someone else in the comments might, and they could respond to it. Do you know anything about glaucoma or surgery for it or anything, Derek?
So the only thing I will say is I've had numerous people have surgeries that I know of, just cataract surgeries, glaucoma, things like that. My dad and some other people. And while I don't know anything specifically about more than just sort of general information about the thing, all of them have had varying degrees
Yeah.
of when it's sort of normal again.
Yeah.
Like some of them was like, oh, it's back in a week, and some of them were like, oh, it's a couple months. So, it can take time. When they say up to 6 months, that sounds like if the doctors are telling you that, that's probably accurate. So I would give that the time because everybody's different,
Yeah.
and I would say that for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I've heard all types of ranges of how long. I've heard people say, "Oh, the next day it was great."
Yeah.
All the way, yeah, like you said, taking several weeks and stuff. And then I've also heard a lot of horror stories. I mean, hopefully everything will work out, but it's no one ever tells you just comes out and tells you the positive things. They always like, oh, it was terrible. So I'm sure there's equal numbers of positive experiences as well.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Julio Rosa said Neuralink is the name of the Elon Musk enterprise.
Ah,
The chip thing.
Neuralink.
Yeah. How Casey sees it says there are so many different problems with her eyes that she doesn't think there'll ever be a cure that fixes it all at once.
Oh, yeah.
Blind Toe said that Sam, you almost forgot you get the golden toe.
Oh,
The golden toe.
I wear that as a badge of honor. Golden
The
toe. I'm gonna make a
golden
T-shirt.
The golden with a big toe.
Yeah,
It's
big
gold.
golden toe and like light rays coming off of it shine. Speaking of that, Argus. Argus is the name of that camera in the eye, chip in the head thing that I was talking about. Argus and Argus 2, I think.
That makes me put a chip inside of me. That makes me nervous. Like,
Yeah.
that sounds some doomsday kind of stuff.
I even worked
Yeah.
with a lady who was one of their testers, and she had it in there. I didn't ask to see it or anything. Can I feel the back of your head? You got a scar? Oh,
Yeah, what's going on with you?
but there's videos online you can watch. It shows what people see. It's not like, hey, I can see perfectly. It's like black and white and just dots. It's very digital. It's kind of interesting.
And then JC5 said the only problem about having a chip implanted in you is what happens when there is a new and updated version of it. Like you get it replaced, which is
chips.
totally true because any kind of tech like that, that's going to be constantly improved upon. So if you are an early adopter, does that mean you're just stuck with this crappy chip in your head?
Yeah.
I think what you're doing is you're agreeing to a lifetime of something at that point because you're saying like, I'm gonna have this chip. What's gonna be updated in 10 years? Well, you are then forever saying like, I'm gonna always have to go back in for surgery. It's kind of like if you have, some sort of condition that needs regular monitoring, and so this is a lifetime commitment. And I'm just used to going into the hospital randomly. I think that's probably what you're gonna end up agreeing to is as it gets better, you're gonna have to go back in and sort of redo this kind of thing.
Yeah, there's some people are nervous about the Amazon Echo and the Google Home, listening to them all the time. Can you imagine them with a chip in their head? Like
With a chip in their head, yeah. Give me the aluminum foil hat right now.
right.
The blind trader, Sam, this is someone that you saw at BCB apparently.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it said that you really helped out there. Also said, what is this? The celebrity room for YouTube? Because how Casey sees it's in here. JC5 Productions in
Yeah.
here. Derek and Sam, and he said, "Where's Blind to Billionaire?"
Yeah.
You need the whole trifecta here.
Yeah, all the blind YouTubers in one place.
Now there's going to be an explosion and take us all out.
I know.
Someone asked if you know something about stem cell therapies in order to recover optic nerves or retina regeneration. Do you know something about results in this area? And it seems like everything I've heard has just been kind of mixed.
Yeah.
At best, yeah.
Everything I know, the only thing I know is kind of what general knowledge, that they're working on it. It has been shown to improve some vision, but it's still very much in the research and testing phase, right?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag for sure. So that's
I definitely
that's the kind
think
of things
I
I
think
wouldn't
it's
count on.
promising. Yeah, I think it's promising in the future, but I think it could be well into the future before it's really a viable treatment.
Totally.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Someone said, Elliot Williams said they're 29 and struggling with identifying as visually impaired / legally blind. Sam, I think you can definitely get on board with that. Sam's in his 40s now. He started losing his vision when he was like 12. I met him in his, were you mid to late 20s when we met? And he
Mid-20s.
definitely was not comfortable with his identity as a visually impaired person when we first met, for sure. It took him a while.
Yeah, I've got tons of videos talking about how it took me a long time to fully accept how it was, and I still, I mean, I'm fully accepting, but I still sometimes try to hide it, or it's like not really hide it, but it's easier to just not go full blind in this situation because it doesn't, it's not going to help me or anything, and it would avoid having to explain things to somebody. I don't know any particular situation comes to mind, but I still, back then I would hide it, like actively try to hide it. If I was looking, the example I always get is if I was looking at a menu with my magnifier, I would make sure nobody was looking at me or looking in my direction, and then I would real quickly look at it with the magnifier and then put it down and kind of look around. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm good. I'm still good. Nobody saw me. Or if I was asking for something, I would say, oh, I forgot my glasses, or I just can't see very well, or I just try to put myself in situations where the blindness wasn't a factor, and even go out of my way to do that, just so I wouldn't have to look like a blind guy, I guess. And I credit coming around a lot to Rachel, giving me that tough love, being like, you're being an idiot, stop it. And then just
That's probably something general in a relationship.
Yeah, she does it. She's not scared to call me out on stuff.
That's right.
Like this morning, why haven't you gone outside? I'm really worried. Outside? Is there still an outside?
What is that?
But yeah, so it's normal. It's totally normal. I would say that your life opens up a lot. Things become a lot easier once you kind of accept it. You realize that, and it's a lot easier now, I think. The world at large is much more accepting of handicaps nowadays than they were back 20 years ago when I was struggling with it. It's kind of cool now to be different, and handicap is sexy now for some reason.
Heck yeah.
It's all the rage.
Got our own emojis.
Yeah, oh yeah, there you go. So, I can say whatever you want. I can stand up here and preach all day long, but it's a personal decision, and it's a struggle. But I would encourage you to work on it, and it helps watching channels like Derek's. Derek deals a lot with the emotional side of sight loss, so that might be a good resource for you. And Casey and Juan and everybody, it helps to be part of a community. You got anything to add to that?
I definitely have. Yeah, I've got videos on my channel talking about this. One of them specifically is sight loss isn't just about losing vision; it's about losing identity. The life I thought I'd live and who I am as a person and things like that. And one of the questions I've asked people that I've talked to is, how do you identify yourself? Would you say you're a sighted person with not very good vision, or are you a visually impaired person with, okay remaining vision? Because it's always the people who, if you're totally blind, it's a little bit different, obviously. But if you have some remaining vision and you can quote unquote fake it, like Sam mentioned, it's very challenging. And so whenever you consider yourself, I remember that, like that struggle of like, oh, I'm sighted, I just can't see real well right now. Mm-hmm. And changing that from being, no, I'm a visually impaired person. Now, I don't want to get into the whole debate about, are you a person with visual impairment? Because, it's person-centric language. Like, I like saying visually impaired person. I'm fine with that. Yeah. Plus, I can say VIP and be hip and cool.
Yeah.
But the idea that identity is shift, my identity is not shift. I'm the person I just have this other sort of card in my deck now, the blind card that I can play occasionally, not on my family because, it doesn't work in my house. But, I have this extra card now. It's just part of me. All the other stuff is the same. I'm still, list off all the other things in my life. Now, is that easier said than done? Sure. But it is so, like Sam said, it's very freeing to be like, look, I'm a visually impaired person. Okay, that's it. Moving on. I did a video about the white cane, like what it actually means about you, because people struggle with using the white cane. I'm like, it just means you can't see very well. That's it. That's all it means. Yeah. It doesn't mean that you're something's wrong with you or anything like that. It just means you can't see very well. Yeah. So it's so important. That's such an important component of loss that a lot of people, they're like, well, here, use a cane, or here's some bump dots or whatever. It's like, no, there's such identity struggles that people don't talk about, and I think that's really, really important. So I'm glad that person mentioned that.
Yeah, and speaking of the cane, well, number one, Casey, how Casey sees it, has probably the best cane video ever. It was instrumental in inspiring me to use my cane more, but that alone, perfect example of freeing yourself is, if you struggle to see where you're going, and you're trying to pretend to not be blind, and maybe you're tripping over curbs and things like that, and or you go into the restaurant, the fast food place, and it's awkward because you can't read the menu, and you got to try and figure out what you want, or maybe you just keep ordering the same thing, and you would like to explore the menu, but you can't see it.
Been there, done that.
Use the cane. Yep. The cane takes care of all those problems, and so it's your life is just so much less stressful.
Have you ever had anybody say, "Oh, I don't want people staring at me"?
Oh yeah.
I always say, "How do you know if they're staring at you?"
You can feel it, Derek. You can feel when they're staring.
Well, and something that goes along with that too, that I think I tried to point out to Sam way back when he was trying to hide things is when you're trying to fake it, most of the time people can tell something's up. So would you rather them think that you're either just one, really weird, or you don't know how to read, or you have a DUI and that's why you can't drive, or would you rather them just know the truth? Like, I'm visually impaired. And so I think it used to bother Sam that, like, when we would get a new neighbor or something, I'll pretty much point that out within the first day of them moving in, that if Sam hasn't already talked to him, like, Sam's visually impaired, so if you wave to him and he doesn't see you, he's not being rude. He didn't see you. Like, if he doesn't wave back, he's not being a jerk. He just didn't see you. And I think that helps, because I mean, it's weird for someone to not be able to see well enough that they can't use the card reader, yet they forgot their glasses. No, if you can't see that well, you didn't forget your glasses. You put those glasses on the second you get out of bed. So I think
Rachel,
realizing
really
that
speaking the truth.
It's true though.
Preach it, girl.
Like,
no, I agree.
You're not fooling anyone. Like, you might be fooling yourself more than you're fooling other people when you're trying to pretend it's something else, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. That's the thing, is like, it's just who you are. It's just part of who you are. So you may as well just be honest about it, and I think people appreciate that about Sam now, and a lot of people that aren't visually impaired or part of the community have learned a lot from him because he is open about it.
Yeah.
Well, and Rachel makes a good point, because I had that situation. I had a neighbor across the street whom I didn't interact with. They were just neighbors and whatever, but they would wave at me continually, and finally they asked the neighbor, like, next to them, they're like, he seems like a jerk. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because that neighbor I had talked to, because they had kids and our kids played together, so I would let them know I was blind. Well, they were like, he can't see, right? And they were like, what? And so it made me look, if you don't speak the truth, sometimes it ends up backfiring on you, and you look like a jerk.
Yeah.
Because you're not waving at your neighbor or whatever. So not to quote the scriptures, but you'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Like, so the truth can actually be a lot more beneficial. As Sam said, the white cane lets people know, so it takes care of some of those issues and things like that. So I like, when you get a job, I always let people know up front that I can't see, because I'd rather them know and deal with it up front. Now, I am like Sam in the instance, I've had many a time where I forgot my glasses, or I just don't tell people, because it's, and my kid's like, why didn't you tell that person you couldn't see? Because they feel like they need to, well, my dad can't see. I'm like, well, we don't need to tell them. Like, I'm never going to interact with this cashier again. What do I care that they know?
Skylar did that a lot too.
Yeah. So, or like people feel uncomfortable with it. So they're like, oh, this is Derek. He can't see. So I just want, it's like, calm down. Like, it's all right. I think that for me, and maybe Sam and others identify, for me, I don't tell people up front, because that's not the first thing. Like, hi, I'm Derek and I'm blind. Like, that's not the first thing I care to talk about. Like, I'm Derek and I have these other things. By the way, I can't see, so if you wave at me, that's an issue. But moving on, I don't want that to be the first thing that identifies me. That's part of my story, and I'll tell it later. But that's, and so it's just a balance. But that is a good point, Rachel. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, and speaking on that very topic, if anybody would like to know exactly how I see with Stargardt's and macular degeneration, that's the video that I put out this morning. It's an updated video to one I put out many years ago that was just terrible, and so I redid it. But I give some visual examples of how I see with blind spots and macular degeneration, and I also wanted to talk about real quickly. I was watching another visually impaired YouTuber. I believe that the guy's in Cairo, I believe, Egypt somewhere. But really cool guy. And it's the first video I ever watched of him, so I don't recall his name. I'll put it in the show notes or the video description. But his video was 10 things not to say to a blind person or visually impaired person, and one of them was in response to if you say I forgot my glasses, something like that, they said, well, did you forget your glasses, or why don't you have contacts, and I'm sure everybody's gotten that question so many times, and his response, which was always my thought in my head, I never said it, was like, oh, glasses. That's right. I forgot I could get glasses and it would fix that. Oh, all these years I've been walking around totally, almost completely blind.
Thank God I met you.
Yes, you saved
what I have done. Yeah, I have a lot of sarcastic comments I have to hold back.
Oh gosh, yeah, I do too, man. I do too. But I had one
of the first times I.
Or go ahead.
Go ahead.
I had one. I went to talk about a cashier. I went to a store, and my father-in-law drove me over there, and I just ran in to return something real quick. And I went up there, and of course you have to sign the paper. And I said, I can't see very well. Can you just point where I need to sign? And she's like, oh, and of course, why don't you have glasses? And I was like, oh, my vision's incorrectable. Glasses don't fix it. And she's like, oh, well, I hope you didn't drive here.
Oh, classic
no,
jokes.
Of course I didn't drive here.
Yes, I did, ma'am. Thank you.
Oh, I can still drive.
Yeah,
okay.
I can still drive, but I can't sign this piece of paper.
The dog shows me where to go.
Yeah, he runs outside. After I first lost my sight, this was in the first probably 3-4 months of losing sight. I'll never forget, I was at Old Navy, and I had to sign the receipt, and of course I got real close to it. I was trying to find the line or whatever, and the cashier said, oh, real snarky almost, and maybe it wasn't snarky, but I was in a place where I wasn't ready to hear that, so I took it snarky. She was like, oh, did you lose your glasses? And I looked at her, I was like, no, I lost my sight. And she was like, she didn't know what to say. I was like, I didn't have any compassion at all back then. I was just like, I hate you.
Yeah.
But
I have a friend who his response is, no, I have an incorrectable eye disease. Just like
incorrectable eye disease.
That usually shuts it down right there.
Don't. Yeah, I step away, or I'll give it to you right now.
Yeah. Forgot my mask today.
And everybody always.
I'll give it to you.
I'll give it to you right now. Everybody always makes a joke, and I think some of it's them feeling uncomfortable because they're not sure what to say, so they make the jokes about driving here or anything like that. And for the most part, if I know them, if I'm building a relationship with them, then it's like, okay, and maybe eventually I'll be like, they'll figure it out, be like, oh, there's so many better things to make fun of me for than sight loss. Like you can make fun of me for a lot of things. Sight loss is just the surface, and eventually they'll let that go and move on. But it's that classic, like, whoa, like. So the other day somebody called me, and I'm in charge of the Facebook page for the church, and somebody had posted something on there accidentally, and they deleted it, but they wanted to make sure it was gone, and they called me to check on it, and they're like, yeah, well, I couldn't see it. Well, I know you can't see it. I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? Because I said something. Well, I don't see it on the page, so it's probably fine. They're like, well, I know you couldn't see it. I was like, that's like they feel like they have to make every sight loss joke that they can get them all out.
Yeah.
And sometimes I make the joke and it's funny, but I'm like, well, that was dumb. Like, what do you mean? I just literally said I don't see it, so it's fine. That was not a time to make a sight joke. Like, so. But I'm not mad. Yeah, I know. Read the room. I'm not mad at that person. I'm just like, I get it. You're uncomfortable. You're not sure what to say here. and that's fine. And I don't have a deep relationship with that person, or not that I hate them or anything. I just don't have a close connection.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's fine. Like that's all you know about me right now, and that's okay. I'm not mad.
Hopefully they
If
don't
I have
watch
a
my
close
live
relationship eventually. Hopefully not. Somebody did comment on one of my videos. This is a tangent real quick about how I think I told you this the other day about how I said something in earlier videos. I used to say,
Yeah.
if this is the first time you're seeing my beautiful face, then click subscribe or whatever. And they're like, they commented like sight loss, it's a channel about sight loss. And then he says something about seeing my beautiful face. And I'm like, I still use those words, like, see and watch and look and even read a book or whatever. But
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a tangent. I apologize. I'm just bitter about it.
No, that's the exact reason I made that one video about people making jokes about being blind, and I had somebody on Facebook, someone that we know who I see maybe once a year, and every single time I see them, they make a joke similar to that, and it's just like, gosh, like I said in the video, it's like, then it's clear that that's all they see when they look at you is they see the blindness. They don't see all the other amazing attributes, and so I'm like, it's okay to make jokes. If your friends want to rag you about, something like that, that's totally cool because you joke about it too. But if that's all they ever do, then it's clearly an issue.
Well, and if it's well-timed and funny, man, I will be the first one to laugh. Like,
Oh, yeah.
My family and I, we joke about it all and whatever. But but if it's that surface level, like, did you drive here or things like that, like that's not even funny anymore. It doesn't make any. I get it. No, I didn't drive here. Thanks. And in those moments, I'm like, wow, thanks for bringing it up that I can't drive. Now I'm gonna go weep in the bathroom or something. Like, it's like I don't want to say that because that would hurt their feelings. But so the other day, my son he wanted to order this book from Amazon. And he was like, "Oh yeah, Dad, I'm gonna get this book. It's about this thing." Blah, blah. I was like, "Oh, we're reading a book. Must be nice to be able to read a book," and or whatever. He was just like, "Shut up," like or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just those kinds of moments are funny because it's fine.
Yeah.
But other things, just like, well, that's not funny. Like if it's funny, I'll laugh. I like funny stuff, but if you're gonna rag on me driving here, like, oh, we're gonna let Derek drive. Oh, that was funny the first 12 times.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, you gotta laugh.
Skylar at least a couple times a week says to Sam, "Because you're blind," and it is funny because she does it the exact same every time. And now she'll say it about stuff that has nothing to do with him being blind, which makes it that much funnier. But yeah, we joke on it a lot.
Oh yeah.
But obviously, we're his family, and he knows that we know a lot of other things about him other than the fact that he can't see, but we do joke on it all.
There's way better things to make fun of us for. You know what I mean? Like that's just very surfacey stuff.
Yeah, like Rachel.
We can make fun of Sam for not ever leaving the house,
Yeah.
Right, that's right.
Or Rachel's brother constantly picks on me because I've got a giant head. So there's plenty of other things we could joke about.
That's funny.
Okay, going back to something a little bit more serious.
Oh, no.
Elliot also mentioned, asked what the pros and cons were of legally identifying as being disabled. And personally, I can't really think of a con of like being, having that legal designation, but you guys may have some input on that.
You're in the system.
You're in the system anyway.
You're on the grid.
It depends on where you live. Probably the benefits. I know in Europe they talk about being registered blind.
Yeah.
And we are, legally blind and things like that. I think there's. I don't know of any cons, like Rachel said. Like, you have other benefits you can have access to, and Social Security or Medicaid or those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any.
You get the parking sticker, the park in handicapped spaces.
Yeah, you can park in a handicapped spot, which is a whole nother debate probably. But
yeah, Sam and I have a big disagreement on that.
Like if we had our sticker, we wouldn't have to walk this far.
I don't have it. We had it one time, and we used it once, and I was like, nope, I feel bad. I can't do it because I was like, I can walk, and so.
It's
but
only,
yeah, I think there's definitely some benefits.
was gonna say, going on that a little bit. It's only in the evening times. Like if we're walking out to a parking lot and we have to walk really far to a space and it's dark out, that's when I would love to have a closer car, because
That's fair.
I can't see anything in that at night. But no,
Yeah.
most of the time, no, I'm fine to walk.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think there's any
Yeah,
we all did that.
Sorry. Okay, here we go. I don't think there's any cons necessarily to being identified legally blind. I mean, I haven't found any, and I've been
No.
in quote unquote in the system since I first lost my sight because of Social Security and such. So, no, I think there's definitely some benefits. Now, if you want to, one thing, for example, and this isn't necessarily about identifying yourself legally blind, but I have Social Security disability, so I get benefits, and if I get a job that makes more money than I'm allowed to make, I lose my benefits. So is that a con? Well, not necessarily, because you're having a job, so it's a good thing, but so there might be that kind of stuff. But as far as just saying like, okay, I'm registered blind or I'm legally blind, I think that's probably a good thing in many instances.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Yeah, because Sam, who was it that you talked to? Was it someone in England maybe that said that they get like free public transportation?
Yeah.
Something?
In European countries, they have a ton of benefits. It's a lot, from what I understand, it's a lot better than it is here regarding benefits for the handicap. So yeah, free public transportation is one of them. Although you can get, if you're at least in our city here, if you're a member of the Wheels Paratransit Network, if you're signed up with them, you get a free bus card. I don't know if that's true in other states though.
Yeah, it's weird how from state to state, the what's available to you, it varies greatly. Like job
Yeah.
training and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Being able to get tech equipment in order to be able to study or do your job varies greatly from one state to another state, which is a little unfortunate. It'd be nice if it were a little more uh, cohesive across the country.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Real quick, while Rachel's looking at comments, talking about our red shirts, I see Derek's wearing a Star Wars shirt, as per usual. It's either usually Star Wars or some kind of Marvel character, right?
I do love Star Wars and Marvel.
And I am wearing
We just watched Guardians of the Galaxy last night. It was
I love that movie. I'm wearing the VIP Nation shirt that you can exclusively get from the Blind Life Amazon shop. And
Plug.
yep. And I also just started a Teespring account, so that my shirts will show up underneath my videos now, and you can go to the shop or the store page on my store tab on my YouTube page, and my shirts are there too. So trying to make it more accessible for people.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So. All right, there you go. My shameless plug.
Yeah.
Okay. Several people just commented on how much they enjoy videos like this with so many people, and just the VIP community on YouTube in general. That it's just nice to have so many people that you can identify with. And
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
Just make sure you're subscribed to everybody. That's the thing. I've looking through my analytics, I get like 75% of people watching my videos are not subscribed. So take a few seconds and click the subscribe button. Visit Derek's channel. I'll have his information in the description after the video is done. I'll put that in there. But it's Life After Sight Loss, or your YouTube channel is just Derek Daniel, right?
No, my YouTube channel is Life After Sight
Okay.
Loss.
If you search either
It used
way,
to be my name.
oh, okay, yeah. If you search either way, you'll find it. And Casey and Juan and Blind to Billionaire and all that.
Game Daughter said that your head, it only looks big because you have no hair.
No, it looks big because it's big. This,
I feel like that was a.
We joke that
in
Sam doesn't have a 4 head; he has a 6 head.
yeah, yeah, that's right.
That's why he grows his beard so big, to make up for the lack of hair on top. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it balances out the forehead.
And I've had it long for so long that I shaved it off a couple of years ago. I shaved it off, and everybody in the family is like, "Oh, you look weird. Your head looks so small. You got to grow it back out." Yeah, I got to have hair somewhere on my head, because I just look like a giant thumb or something without it. I look like
You look like a golden toe.
I look like a big toe. That's what I was about to say. I'm one toe up.
Now, Now, as a side note, did you start losing your hair and you shaved it off, or how did
Yeah,
that
I
work?
think all bald people, that's how it starts, right? All bald guys.
Yeah, yeah.
I was in my 20s when I started losing my hair. And in fact, my son is 21, 22 now. And I'm like, clock's ticking, buddy. It's coming
Oh
soon.
no.
I'm not losing my hair. Like, oh, yeah, okay. My dad looked like me. I look like this. You're losing your hair. I'm sorry. It's keeping it real.
He has no signs of hair loss though at all. He has a lot of hair.
Yeah,
Which
my,
just means his is gonna fall out in a day. Like,
just like that.
it's gonna wake up and it's gonna be all of it.
My just
Um,
hair everywhere.
JC5 Production says that he joked when it's a foggy day that it's cataracts for everyone.
Cataracts for everyone.
Yeah.
You get cataracts. You get
Cataracts for you,
cataracts.
cataracts for you. Everybody gets a cataract. And then yeah, a couple people commented. In my counting, I can get reduced fare on buses. I've got a pass for the bus that allows me to travel free in the UK, etc.
Yeah, that's nice. And I think someone in, maybe Casey can remark on this, but in New York City, I think, don't they have special deals for subways, or maybe you can get a special ticket? When I was visiting in Prague last year in the Czech Republic, they got me a trolley or tram ticket for free because I was visually impaired. You could get them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Way to throw in that you visited another country into the
Yeah.
conversation. That's
Yeah.
nice. When I was outside the country.
When I was jet setting across the European continent, I had a lot of fun. I've got a video coming out about that, about international travel someday.
Sweet.
You know, you got in there just in the nick of time too.
I did. It was December.
If if that'd been just a couple months later, you wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah, I might still be there. Be stuck.
That would be weird.
I had a great time.
That would be.
Yeah, I talk about it in the video. I had a great time. I recommend traveling internationally by yourself if possible. That's the way I did it. I went by myself. I might have had people there that I was rendezvousing with, but traveled independently over there. But yeah, you'll see in the video someday.
Yeah, have you put out any videos from that trip?
No, I made it and I wasn't happy with it, so I actually recorded some there, and it's just one of those things. You get to the editing process and you're like, this is garbage. I'm not putting this out.
Yeah. Oh, this is crap.
I gotta redo it. And I just haven't. I've recorded it. I just haven't edited it yet because other projects have come up and things that I wanted, more importantly, to put out.
Okay. I don't see any additional questions. I mean, there's a lot of comments on here, but a lot of people interacting with one another, which I always love during these.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
the
that's great.
people in the
Yeah.
comments talk to each other, which is really cool. And then some other people, Jordan commented that in Ireland, where I don't know if Jordan is a male or female Jordan, but where they come from in Ireland, the free travel pass thing, they have that too, which is very cool.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Well,
I think in Indiana, if you're part of the, I can't remember what it's called up here in Indy, but like the bus system or whatever, open door maybe, open pass, open something's open. I don't know, but I think you get a bus pass. You get like a special card, and you can get on the bus for either free or very reduced fare. So
Yeah. Game Daughter lives in Muncie, and
Oh.
she said that there's MITS Plus must be their local thing, is $1 a ride, unless you get help from trustees, and then it's half fare.
oh,
So
there you
that's
go.
pretty good. And Sarah says that if you have a disability, you can also get free public transport tickets in some cities in Mexico, where she's at.
cool.
Ah, cool.
So it sounds like you can get help with transportation a lot of places. I think where the transportation really gets difficult is when you live somewhere that's rural enough that they don't really have public transportation, and
Yeah.
then you're kind of you can. I'm sure sometimes people feel a little trapped in those areas.
Oh yeah, I grew up in a small town where there was no such thing as a bus or even delivery pizza. So it was like, this is a bad place to lose my sight. So now in a big city, it's a lot better.
Well, speaking of that, speaking of getting out and being independent, one thing I wanted to talk to you, Derek, about is you are a guide dog user, and I recently spoke with a company that is working on I'm not going to give away too much detail, but kind of the future of assisted guidance for the visually impaired using robotics. And the goal there, they kind of say the goal is to the next evolution of the guide dog. So some type of robotic equipment that would take you around using sensors and haptic feedback and things like that, and basically do the same function of the dog. And so I wanted to kind of throw that out there and get your opinion, or maybe get opinion from people in the chat. What you guys think about that?
That sounds terrible. No, no.
And they're calling it Skynet.
So, Skynet.
No, not really.
No, I think there is two sides to that coin. So some people would argue that that's a great thing. It takes some of the guesswork out of the organic piece of the dog. You don't have to feed and water, robotics, things like that. So, and it's much more consistent because the robotics aren't making choices, like a dog is. It's like, this is a thing, and every time I see this thing, this is what I do. Whereas the dog sort of does that, but it has to make choices. So just the other day, as a matter of fact, we were walking, and we were in my neighborhood, and we came up to this curb, and we stopped, where we come up all the time, because you have to come to this curb to get out of the neighborhood. And I told Koa forward, and he didn't move. And I was like, what's happening? Why aren't we moving? Because he's so, he listens really well.
Yeah.
So I stopped. I'm like, well, maybe he's okay. Well, then this car came, driving by us. Now, it wasn't going 90 miles an hour or anything like that, but it was like, oh, there's a car coming. So my dog had to make an intelligent disobedience kind of choice and say, we can't go. It's not safe. So would the robotic car or robotic thing do that? Probably, but my dog made a choice based on our surroundings. Plus, the dog, I think, gets to know me and knows, okay, this small step he's going to be fine on. This other step he's not. Or if we're hiking a trail, he's kind of got a good idea of where I can and can't go, especially as you get to know each other and you're a team for a long time. So I think there's probably some benefits to having a robotic assistance, whatever they're calling it. Is it going to be a big robot dog? I don't know. But, some robotic thing. But at the end of the day, there is definitely a sense of connection with the dog that you just wouldn't get with a robot. It's kind of like you have no emotional... Well, I don't want to say that. I was going to say you don't have an emotional connection to your cane. But you do. Everybody has kind of a feeling towards their cane. But what I mean is there's not like this... my kids don't teach my cane how to roll over. It's not quite the same. So there's this emotional connection that the dog makes. So when you're out and about, you're trusting that dog because you have a relationship and that sort of thing. So I don't know. I'd be interested to see how they do it.
Yeah.
But for me, it would have to go very far beyond what my dog can do to make me be like, oh yeah, definitely, I would go that route. That's just me. I'd like to hear other people's thoughts too, but that's just kind of me off the top of my head.
Yeah. So some of the arguments for the company is, and I kind of posed that question to him when I was talking to him, that one of the aspects of the guide dog that's made them so successful is over the years is that they also have this built-in sense of what's it called? They don't want to put themselves in danger, right? So they're not going to walk out, even if you try to make them, they're not going to walk out into a street that they know they might get hurt as well. And you're not going to get that with a robot of some sort. And I said, well, what's to stop a robot from, malfunctioning and just walking somebody off the side of a cliff or something? A dog would never do that. Sense of self-preservation. That's what I was trying to think of. So they said, well, there's going to be several different redundancies. There's several different operating systems working, and sensors. They've got like 6 different of every single thing, like 5 or 6 different versions. So there would never be that type of catastrophic malfunction. But one of the arguments for it is, the device will cost about 1/3 of what it costs to train a dog. So that's, we'll save a lot of money for somebody over the years. But that and like you said, the everyday maintenance. You don't have to feed them. You don't have to take them out. You don't have to, other than plugging them in at night. That's it.
Yep.
They will possibly be able to be loaned to people. There won't be this kind of commitment like you do with a dog. I mean, you've got that dog until you got basically forever. So you won't have that.
Yeah.
There's none of these. You can't ride in my Uber because I'm allergic to dogs. I mean, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So you can kind of understand all
yeah.
that, but I kind
totally.
of feel the same way as you right now. It's still early design and all
Sure.
that, but
Oh yeah, and there's definitely benefits, as you just mentioned, just a few. I mean, just those kinds of benefits, not having to, feed and water him, or not having to, I just took him to the vet, last week or at the beginning of this week, and they're got that bill or whatever, and so there wouldn't be those kinds of things, which is a huge benefit.
yeah.
But if I take my robot dog out to go hiking, I can't put my robot dog on a leash and let him run around and play fetch and stuff like that with him either.
Yeah.
So there is that as well. And some people would say, well, I don't want to do that. And it's like, okay, cool, and that's fine. I think it's going to be a personal preference.
Yeah.
And my dog isn't perfect. He makes mistakes as well. Sometimes I run into a tree branch because he doesn't catch it because we're going 90 down the sidewalk, and he's just like, But when we go back and fix that, and then he gets it. Of course, then he stops at every tree because he's like, "Was there a branch here? Maybe." It's like this tree isn't even over the sidewalk. It's like,
He's just being a smart aleck.
So, yeah, that's right. Oh, you were close to this one now. You're gonna get this one. I think it will be personal preference, and some people love the idea of a guide dog because it's a dog. And some people are like, "Oh, I don't want to deal with a dog."
Yeah.
And I can't blame anybody for either choice. I know. I'm blanking on her name right now. Kayla with a C. Is that what
Yep,
it is? Kayla. Yes. So Kayla put out a great video talking about why she doesn't have a guide dog, and I was like, "This is great. It was very rational and made sense why she didn't have a dog." And I was like, perfect. That is a great way to look at it. And because some people are like, oh, you need a dog, or oh, you don't need a dog. And I know, Sam, you've talked about it too, and everybody's got to make their own choice. So some people don't even want to use the cane, and so that's a whole nother thing. It's hard. You were talking about like letting the cane identify you. Hard to hide when you're walking in with a big black Labrador.
Yeah, but on the same side though, I think that people will be more receptive to a dog than a cane in a lot of situations.
Yes.
Because dogs are cute,
they are.
lovable, and humans have a history with dogs and all that. But
Yes.
yeah, I have a friend who I think I think having a guide dog would just open up her world, make her so much more independent and all that. But she doesn't want the aspect of having a dog in her life. And like you said, it's a personal choice, and you kind of have to respect that. And even though I think it would be great.
Well, and for you have to like those kinds of things come with having that. I don't want to call them a good mobility tool. Like that sounds almost like I'm whatever, but
Yeah.
they are such a wonderful mobility tool and companion and all that stuff. That other stuff just comes along with it. I mean, it's just like with anything. If you had that robotic thing, you're going to have maintenance on it. You're going to have things that come with it that
Yeah.
are just different than having a guide dog. And so, yeah, I have to feed and water and groom and take care of my dog and all that sort of thing. But that's just stuff that comes with it because he provides such an amazing service. It's like, oh, well, by the way, you also have to make sure this dog's taken care of so he can provide that service and so that he can, be out there and go with you and help you to be more independent. And I mean, I walk 90 miles an hour with my dog, whereas with my cane, I'd walk much slower. And so that piece alone to me is so important. And so I need to make sure my dog is well taken care of, not just because he's a dog. I mean, that's obviously part of it, but so that he can do his job to the best ability he can. And some people who are, animal rights people, they would argue that that's, well, you should take care of him because he's an animal and he shouldn't have a job and things like that. But my dog wags his tail and loves to be out and about and go places and things like that. So I want to make sure he's well taken care of for all of those reasons. Not just because, he's got to do a good job, but because he's my buddy and I want to make sure he's taken care of.
Yeah, if you know anything about guide dogs, they love to work. That's what they live for.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's definitely not, a negative thing. It's very funny. There's another company or person in Japan, I believe, that has designed some type of robotic guided assistant. And there's a video on YouTube. You can watch this, but I watched it and it was I kind of laughed a little bit. But it's basically a rolling suitcase that they put some sensors on, and it beeps whenever something is near them. And so the video is just hilarious. I don't mean to laugh at it. I'm sure a lot of money and time and energy went in to make this thing. But this guy's walking through the airport in the video, and it shows him using the cane. And if you've ever used the cane in the airport, people, when you get close, they look at you and then they step out of the way. And if they're not paying attention, then you hit them with the cane as you're walking through. It happens all the time.
Yes.
So that's what happened in this video. And then it showed him rolling the suitcase, and he's rolling it like you would a normal rolling suitcase, one of the kind that has the four wheels that you can push in front of you. And as it gets closer to people, it beeps at him, this very loud and annoying beep. And so it's just like it's like the car, like the golf cart in the airport, beep 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 as it's going through. And it's the funniest thing to watch, because these people are like, oh, what is that, and jumping out of the way, and I don't know. It's just I appreciate them trying to create something that's useful for the community, but I don't see it taking off personally.
Don't see it taking off.
That doesn't sound like it actually helps the person navigate. It sounds like it just makes people get out of your way.
It does. It keeps you from bumping into people.
I mean, I would like that too. Get out of the way. The dog does a good job of that. Like, people are like parting the Red Sea when because the dog doesn't care. He's like, get out of the way. Speaking of dogs,
our dog doesn't care.
Somebody
either.
must be at your front door.
Perfectly on cue. Way to go, Lois.
Yeah, way to go, dog. But that's I've had people jump over my cane, they're walking straight at me like we're playing chicken, and I'm like, I will win this, I can't see you until you're about a foot in front of me, so I will bump you. And so they like jump over the cane. I'm like, that's ridiculous. But oh well. That sounds interesting. I wonder if it's an actual piece of luggage, or if you're gonna have two pieces of luggage now.
I know. I wonder that too. Yeah. Does he have his clothes in there, or is that it doesn't really say in the video. That's funny.
So Karthik is asking how to open YouTube links in the description when you're using VoiceOver on an iPad.
Oh my gosh!
Sorry, I know I totally jumped subjects, but
you don't, unfortunately.
It's terrible.
Derek can answer that one. He made a whole video about it.
You can open them. The problem is that
you have to rotor.
VoiceOver, when you swipe into the description area, once you're in there, it just reads the entire description. And so it might say, for example, if let's say Sam has a link in his thing, it's like, watch this video, and the link is there. Well, it'll read all of it at once. Then when you start swiping, it will go to that link, but it just starts reading the link. You don't know which link is which. It's just an http:// and you're like, I don't know what this is. And so you can click on the link from what I remember last, but you don't know which link you're clicking on. And that's really the problem with how it's set up. So I don't know how to fix that, because YouTube only reads that description all at once. It doesn't swipe through and say, like, it should be able to swipe through and say, watch this next video, and then another swipes, HTTP and is the link, or be able to set up the link with the text, like in a website, you can set text as the link. Mm-hmm. So that would be nice. But yeah, you can get to the link, you just don't know what link you're clicking on at this point. So I can, where's my phone? I can say I demonstrate it. Talk amongst yourselves while I figure this out.
Well, Derek has a video about showing that the YouTube app with VoiceOver. I have a video showing the YouTube app with TalkBack, although they've recently kind of updated it, so I don't know if it still works the same way. But you could definitely Google that or search for it on YouTube. Those videos.
It is 12:15, guys.
Oh, we started at 10:30.
Yeah.
Well, it's lunchtime, so for Derek and I, Derek, what do you think? Shall we wrap it up?
Yeah, that's fine. I will try to find. I'll send maybe a Sam a link to that video where I talk about YouTube, and he can put that in the description as well.
Yeah.
Once this video goes live. So, yeah, I'm good to go.
I'll put it down there, and you won't be able to find it.
That's true. Search hard. Search hard.
So I'm gonna not put the effort in and just not put it down there. How about that?
Well, what's it called? What's the video called, or what keywords could someone use? They could use life after sight loss,
Here, I would tell you what. Let
and
me
then
just
whatever.
It's
Let me
I
go
would
find
search
it real quick.
YouTube app voiceover probably would take you right to it, and or on I would say for me on Talkback, YouTube app with Talkback. Derek's looking it up. I can see him. He's got a look of concentration on his face.
Look of concentration. I'll find it. Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay, well, while Derek's doing that, I would like to thank everybody for joining us today. As I said, just kind of a spontaneous, wanted to try something, or get on here and do a live stream because I haven't done one in a while, and wanted to chit-chat with Derek. So, as always, you guys can find me, The Blind Life, YouTube channel. All the information will be in the description down below as far as links. I should also mention that when I do product reviews, I'm given a discount code for that product. So if you're ever thinking about buying something, check in the description of my videos because I've added those links in there. So you might, if you're thinking, hey, I'm going to buy a Sunu Band or something like that, check my links first to see if I have a discount code. It might save you a little bit of money. I've got that. I've got for Audible is a link down there to get some a free month and some free credits and stuff like that. So I've got a video coming out about that soon. That was supposed to be today's video, but I changed it at last second. But so definitely check that out. Derek has all his information also in his descriptions. Life After Sight Loss, lifeaftersightloss.com. And I
found the link.
I'll also mention that I am very close to getting my website ready. It'll be theblindlife.something. Haven't quite figured that out yet. .com is taken. I wish I could get that one, but I can't. So I'll have a website hopefully coming out soon. It's been a long time in the making, and a long time. A lot of people have requested it for a long time. So working on that. Cool. What do you got, Derek?
Okay, so just self-plug real quick. Yes, you can go to lifeaftersightloss.com. You can find all the YouTube videos and the podcast there on the website. If you want to find me on YouTube, just search Life After Sight Loss. Make sure if you're dictating it, you pay attention because it will spell sight S-I-T-E.
It does.
So make sure you're spelling out S-I-G-H-T. I did find the link to that. I put it in the chat, so if you want to copy and paste that. But it's basically called something about interacting with a YouTube video with voiceover on an iPhone, something like that. So if you put in those keywords, you should be able to find it. But I did put the link in the chat as well. So yeah, check that out. And thanks to Sam for having me on here. It's always fun to chit chat and hang out with fellow VIP. And I mean that in the blind sense and the very important sense as well.
VIT, a very important toe. Okay, well, thank you guys, everybody. It was a pleasure talking to you. We like connecting with everybody through this type of thing. It's much more interactive with viewers than our videos and just answering comments. So we like doing that. We are gonna jump off, get some lunch. I think my family's gonna watch some Supernatural.
And Rachel's gonna weep in the bathroom.
Sometimes she has to leave the room. She gets so freaked out.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing. I'm like, but I've seen them all already, so I know what to expect.
Oh,
You
gotcha.
don't get scared of movies and stuff either, like I do. I don't like scary movies.
Yeah. So leave a like on the video if you like Supernatural. If you're a Sam or Dean fan, yeah, that'd be a great reason to like the video. Not for any of the other stuff we did.
That's right.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you very much. Let me jump back to the thing here and end the stream. You're gonna lose Derek here for a second, but Actually, forever. He won't be back. Thank you very much,
Oh.
Derek. And thank you again, everybody. We will see you next time. Bye.